Okay, welcome everyone. 11th 4844 call. Um, I guess two main things today, actually three main things I think we should chat about. So first is the spec, and specifically with the interop workshop coming up, trying to think about what are all the things we want to resolve before we freeze the spec. It would be good if in the next week or so, like by next call, we could have this spec in a spot where like it's pretty frozen and teams have something clear to work off, so we get the interop and everyone's sort of on the same page. Um, then second thing, we can talk about DevNet 3 and if there's any updates in terms of client implementation and bug fixes there. And then lastly, testing. So we had a bunch of work in progress PRs last week. And yeah, just get some updates on that front. If there's anything else people want to chat about, please either post it in the chat here or add it to the agenda. Um, but yeah, I guess to get started just on the spec side, like I just said, so we have interop in about 2 weeks. If we had a proper week before where the spec is frozen, that would be ideal. I think we're in a spot where like most things are done, but there's still a couple open issues. So I'll go over first the things we still don't have quite closed. Um, Roberto, your issue actually got closed, but because the EIP editor wanted to move the discussion to ETH Magicians, so I just wanted to check in with you about the status there and
No,
um,
it's closed.
okay, it's actually
I
okay,
got the PR submitted yesterday, so it's all
okay,
updated. We're going to use serialize SSE for both hashes, and it's in the spec.
awesome. Okay, anything else on that from anyone? Okay, another one. I think somebody might have literally just closed. Oh, an hour ago. Okay, so this other one we had open 3170. Also just got closed an hour ago. And yeah, it seems like everything is fixed there. Anything else on that one?
You're talking about is data available? That's in the release as well. So
Okay. Um, oh, sorry, I just messed up something doing a copy and paste. Okay, and then we had Xiaowei, you just opened something about, oh, yeah, okay, the thing you just posted about in the chat. Did you want to quickly cover that?
Yes, so today we have a PR to fix the EIP-4844 fork dot MD file, and this is something that we missed to copy paste the previous historical summaries from Capella when we are transitioned to EIP-4844. So there's issues in the fork transition test currently in the release we put last Friday. So we will have either a half fix or a regular release this week to fix it. So just if client teams didn't pass it, it's probably because of this issue.
could you point to which exactly tests should not pass? Because we also found that some doesn't pass.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. Anything else on that? Okay, then I think the last one, the last actual open issue was the sidecar without blobs for range requests, which isn't really like a consensus critical change, but I saw there was some conversation on this last week. Not sure we quite got to a solution. Any updates there?
I mean, I was the main one pushing back on a slightly different behavior. It seems like Mofi agreed generally, although commented that asymmetries abound, regardless if we make this symmetric. But I think that he and I are generally agreed, and Terrence maybe is the other one with a strong opinion here. I'm not sure.
I don't have a strong opinion. I tend to agree with Danny on this, and unfortunately, this is just a behavior in Definite 3 right now since it wasn't clarified. So I think it will be good to clarify it. And I do think clients need more work on just like rate limiting in general, just because like I don't think rate limiting is part of the spec, so everyone kind of does it differently. And right now we're treating zero blob. They are actually like a full blob. So client gets penalized by requesting a lot of those. So yeah, we need more clarification on that as well.
Gotcha. Do you want to revise this PR to the alternative behavior and also put a note about clients should not consider empty sidecars as part of their rate limit strategy or something like that?
Yeah, I can do that. Sorry, I forgot this is my PR. So yeah, I will do that today.
All good. Okay, cool. And then we can review this, and honestly, like we can probably merge this tomorrow and get it out with the fix release that we need to get out on the fork.md stuff.
Awesome. Sounds good to me.
Nice. So I think those were the only open 4844 issues, at least I was aware of. Is there anything else that people are sort of tracking or have opened that would, that basically would stop us from freezing the spec? If not, then yeah, I think if we can get this this merged in, like this last one merged in, the fix on the test, then we'll have a solid spec to work off for interop and the next DevNet. Yeah, and
I
we
feel
can
like
start.
that
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, yeah.
Epic
Took a
work,
lot.
everyone.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
lots of these calls and async stuff they get they get here, but yeah, no, we're in a good spot for this spec. Sweet. DevNet 3. Do any client teams want to share updates on where they're at and if they've made any kind of significant progress in the last week?
I think for Prism side, we kind of moved forward with DevNet 4 already. So we have been passing the latest bad test. Well, there's also a bug, which will fix the bug as well, just like Xiaowei mentioned. So I think last call, we clarified the scope of DevNet 4, which is we'll rebase everything on top of Capella. And that has been reflected on the spread test. So yeah, I think we are very excited and ready to get DevNet 4 started. I don't think there's much value in maintaining DevNet 3 just because that's not gonna, for the interrupt week, that's not what we're targeting for. So I think my recommendation is move to DevNet 4 as soon as possible. And I do like to see like more clients like bootstrap DevNet 4. Just for DevNet 3, it's unfortunately because of the timing during holidays, and it was only Prism submitting blogs. And then I think one of the feedback from DevNet 3 is that to have multiple clients submitting blogs and the blog. So yeah, that's feedback from our end.
Okay. We can definitely do that. So basically, Danny and I are working on the milestones for interop, and I think we can make DevNet 4 a part of that, which would just be basically using this upcoming spec release that we'll have in a couple of days, and trying to get all the clients on that acting as both blog producers and just regular nodes. Does that make sense to everyone?
Cool. Hey guys, just to clarify, for DevNet 4, we'll be having
SSZ routes for the transactions, right?
That's a good one. I'm not sure. So do you know when on the EL side that will be patched? Just I think for Roboto it's pretty easy, you just cherry pick it, right? But like I guess like how do we align the timeline? Does it take a week, like a few weeks for that?
On Ethereum JS side, we are ready with SSZ routes for the transactions. I mean, it should be easy patch, right?
Yeah, in that case, it sounds good to me too. Yeah.
Prolo?
With the SSC route for transactions, do you also mean to change the route of the receipts and the withdrawals?
No, this is only for EIP-4844 transactions. So basically signing the transaction. So basically getting the transaction hash.
Oh,
for
you mean
signing.
the transaction
So that's
hashing?
different.
And yeah, that's
Yes.
different. Sorry for the
Yeah, yeah.
confusion.
Right. So it has nothing to do with the other routes conversation. Yeah.
And what
Although
do
the root standardization might have an impact on, is going to have an impact on 4844 because of that functionality, but that we'll cross that road when we get there.
and what do the EL prototypes do right now?
Geth has been updated to use serialize instead of hash tree root per the spec updates that I checked in yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, Nethermind can do the same, but we would wait for at least some scope definition for DevNet 4. If hash update will be included, it is not a problem for us.
I mean, hopefully it's like a 2-line change for most implementations. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, Ethereum JS is already updated to use the SSC serialize too. We did that a couple days ago. So, I mean, it was a 1-line change for us.
Does any client have an issue if we go that route? Like, can we just make the decision to use that for DevNet 4?
Just to confirm, I understand what we're saying. Is this the Roberto PR number 6245 that we're talking about, or is it something else?
Not sure I remember the PR number, but what's the title of it?
Fixed blob transaction hash to use SSD serialized. Yeah.
Wait. Oh, yeah. The one that says clarify and rationalize blob transaction hash computations. It was the one we just talked about earlier. We're just
that was the issue. That was the issue name that got closed, and there's a couple PRs in there that are now submitted. Yep.
Great. Cool.
Okay, so let's go forward with that for DevNet 4, especially because it's already, I believe, merged in the EIP. So, yeah. So then for DevNet 4, we'll basically use the EIP of like master, so the latest commit, and then the upcoming spec release on the CL side, which will have the 2 pending PRs that we just discussed earlier.
Yep.
Sweet. Anyone want to give updates though on the implementation? So we sort of skipped ahead to DevNet 4. Agreed, we're going to move to that and have that be the 2 latest specs. But just generally in terms of implementation, any client teams have updates they want to share?
I can share for Lighthouse.
Yeah.
So we were able to sync DevNet 3, and now we're working on doing the Capella rebase and trying to pass the spec tests. In DevNet 4, we're hoping that we'll be able to produce blocks, and also we'd like to be online during the transition, so similar to things TensorStack. Other than that, we're working on like improving how we handle blobs in our database and how we handle the trusted setup. So it's more internal improvements as well as like getting up to speed with DevNet v4. But yeah, I think we're in good shape.
Awesome.
For Lodestar, we based on Capella, and we are ready for DevNet 4, and we pass all the spec tests except the one that I escalated. But apart from everything, apart from that, we are good.
Great.
Yeah, update from Teku here. We are already on Capella. And what we are working currently is mostly block production and sync process that is just started. So yeah, it needs still some time to actually join a DevNet test. But yeah, it's progressing.
I've been continuing to work on Aragon. I think it's mostly there. I haven't run any interop tests yet, but the bulk of the implementation is complete. I just finished up. A couple PRs still need to get reviewed and submitted for the external transaction pool. But I'm hoping by the time the workshop comes around, I'll have it interrupt.
Nice.
Nimbus, maybe a quick update on Nimbus. So Nimbus has made a lot of progress through the holidays. Where actually, let me paste, there's a tracking issue for anyone who cares. Basically, we're at the point where we have blob storage, peer-to-peer, the RPCs implemented. I'm working right now on finishing off sync. Most of that is done. And then there's the engine API that's implemented but not wired in. So I'm hoping that that's all going to be complete this week, and then that would leave us, or leave me next week to figure out how to get onto DevNet 3 and make sure that this is in a working shape before interop.
Awesome.
For Ethereum JS, we were able to sync DevNet 3 over the holidays. Paired with Lodestar, I haven't gone back to trying to pair Ethereum JS with either Prism or Lighthouse. I may try and pick that up, kind of prepping for the workshop, but in a couple weeks. But we are able, like I said, able to sync DevNet 3 with Lodestar, and I haven't integrated us into the interop repo just because I'm not super skilled with Docker and all that jazz, but I've written comparable tests to all of the interop tests and within our own test suite, and we can pass all those spec tests locally. I basically just adapted them into our TypeScript testing framework just to run them on a local pair. So I think I would say that we're equivalent, kind of DevNet 3 complete, as it were, in terms of interop.
Nice.
Nethermind as what seems to be complete DevNet 3 implementation. We tested with Get and Lodestar and Prism, and testing with Lighthouse. Going quite okay. We need a little fork to align with V4. Just waiting this code to be described, and we will check this week. And well, that's it.
Great, thanks for the update. I think Besu and Geth might be the two only ones left.
Oh, I mean, I've been continuing to maintain Geth.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, Terrence reported an issue yesterday that I need to look into. I'm not sure there's anything else that needs to be done there. I've been focusing mostly on Aragon lately.
Got it.
Is anyone aware
Anything
of
on?
Is there anything else that needs to be added to Geth that anyone is aware of? I think it's in good shape.
Awesome.
Question on Geth, do we have like a single, like an individual on the Geth team that's going to take this over the line that we can transition to?
My understanding is it's Peter, but I haven't heard from him yet.
Yeah, I think a lot of the Get folks are quite in the weeds with the withdrawals testing right now. I know Marius and Peter had both spent some time on this in the past. So yeah, I suspect that
Do
once.
we want to try and bring them in before interop, or should we just basically wait till interop and then like kind of have that be a handoff point?
I think interop probably makes sense. I doubt in the next week. I mean, if it like if they end up being more available, then sure. But my feeling is like, yeah, they'll probably be focused on that for the next week or so.
Yeah, I think I have the same struggle with the Aragon team. Giulio has been I've been asking him some questions, but otherwise, I could use more involvement from someone from the Aragon team if anyone's on the call.
Awesome. Yeah. Proto?
I was under impression that Peter was working on 444 transaction pool. I'm not sure if the prototype is still using like the old transaction pool, or if that work from Peter is integrated. But it might be worth looking into.
No, I wasn't aware of that. I'll have to take a look at it. We're still using the old transaction pool.
Should be fine for now, but that's something we want to sort out during interop.
And does he have a PR in progress for this? Is that something I could look at?
I'm not aware of any PR, but we should ask him.
Okay, thanks.
Justin?
Besu is in a similar state as Geth. We're hoping to accelerate that this week, though, and potentially participate in DevNet 4. I think at the moment I will be point of contact for that.
Oh, I did have one question for DevNet 4 that I know is not implemented in Geth right now, and that's the don't announce blob transactions. I do have a PR, which I've been holding off on because it wasn't supposed to be part of DevNet 3. I assume that will do that for DevNet 4. Should I get that submitted? This is a text pool issue that's Proto reminded me of this, where for blob transactions, we're not supposed to broadcast them, only announce. I'm not sure if any other client devs have implemented that yet. It's an EL thing.
We have an Ethereum JS, and I've run tests locally. I mean, where we, I haven't tested it with Geth per se, but I have tested it between multiple, Ethereum JS clients and validated that we don't broadcast the transactions, just the hashes. I mean, so that is implemented for Ethereum JS.
Cool. So I would propose we try to do that for DevNet 4. I'll get it in Geth. It's not in Geth yet. It's just unsubmitted PR, but I can get it in.
Yeah, I would +1 doing that for DevNet 4. It feels like a new behavior that's worth us like running through the line on sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It should be pretty straightforward for most implementations as well.
Yeah. I think it makes sense to think of DevNet 4 as, potentially the last, or like, a DevNet on which we have like final-ish implementations. That we could then either, if we want to launch a new public testnet like we did with Kintsugi, or eventually move to testnets, like there might be an extra one there. But I think we should bring in all the functionality we expect to have on mainnet, so that yeah, if it turns out to be like a long-standing thing before public testnets, then it's working as expected. Yeah. Any other updates or discussion items just on client implementations? Okay. Next up, I want to chat about testing. Oh, sorry, please, Jesse. Yeah.
Oh, I just want to make sure my understanding here. It looks like other than maybe Besu, all teams are currently on track to participate in DevNet 4, like fully, basically with a full implementation. Does that sound right to folks? I'm just looking at my notes. I want to make sure I understand.
That's what I got as well. And Modulo, obviously, Aragon and Geth, like Roberto's kind of working on those, but yeah.
You mean
code will be
EL?
there.
EL clients or all clients?
All clients.
Yeah, not 100% sure on our side. Depends by how it plays out, this how we progress on sync implementation this week. So yeah, maybe by the end of this week we could have better ideas.
And I think our goal with like interop is by the end of that week. So basically, January, 27th, give or take, having all the client teams on a DevNet would be kind of the minimum. I would be happy if we get everyone running there. That's great. And then I think the next step beyond that is like we can actually run some stress tests on that DevNet, spam it, and everybody makes it through the rough environment on the DevNet. That'd be ideal. So I think we're tracking pretty well for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay for that. Yeah, it seems like that we should have the ability to join. At the moment, it's just a matter of we have a clear path for arriving there.
Yeah.
Just confirmation that arrives this week and the next week.
Got it. Beju, is that like a similar situation for you all?
Sure. I'm not feeling super confident about it right now at the moment, and I'll have a much more detailed and confidence-inspiring update in a week. But yes, tagging us as the one person not ready to participate in DevNet 4 is fair.
Sounds good. And yeah, next week we'll have kind of our last call before interrupt, so we'll get like an updated status there.
Also, I'm sorry for being the hype man repeatedly, but that's fucking awesome. Let's go. It's so cool. Like that we're on track. I mean, Besu and technically you guys are doing your best, and I'm confident that we'll get you there. But that almost all the clients are like fully ready to go for interop. Like, has this ever happened before? For a release that's 1 out. I don't know. I'm super fired up about it. It makes me super excited.
No, we're in a pretty good spot. It's never happened for sure on the next fork, right? Like it's still worth remembering, like there is still withdrawals that has to happen before all of this. So being like sort of ready for the next thing, I think this is probably a first. Before we jump into testing, so we mentioned the interop repo a couple times, and Roberto, you said in the chat like it's a bit behind, and people should kind of hold off for now. So I guess I'm curious to understand there, because I know we have some good testing there. What should be the plan with that? Should we still kind of try to get every client team to open a PR against that? Does it provide like a good testing suite for that? Does it make more sense to potentially like move to something else, like whether that's Hive or spec tests?
So I'm not a testing expert. All I know, and I hadn't been playing with the interop repo lately because I've had my heads down in the Aragon system. But I tried to use it yesterday and couldn't get anywhere. And I have another person looking into it as well, and he's kind of stuck as well. So it seems to have suffered a little bit of rot, I guess. So I don't have a plan yet. I don't know if someone else does, but all I know is it doesn't seem to be in very good shape. So, but I think it's a good idea that we do have that repo, and that I think the tests in it are good. They're solid. They're pretty basic, but if we can't pass those tests, then we have bigger problems. There might be more than we can do, but we should at least get that back into shape, I think. And I intend to spend a little bit of time on that this week.
Got it. And I wonder, is it maybe worth looking at the test suites there and like exporting them to some other tool like Hive, or does it make sense to? Yeah.
I will defer to a testing expert on that. I've never used Hive, so.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anyone on the call who's used both the interop repo and Hive.
I think I can comment, but like Mofi is out this week, I think, so he would be like the best person to ask.
Yeah.
Regarding Hive, Hive currently is in a spot where just about has support for Capella. I'm working on the changes in the libraries to also support the latest 4.4 spec.
Nice.
Combined, you could run a testnet in Hive just like you do for Capella and previous forks. And then it's a matter of translating these IDs from the interop repo to Hive to, say, spam some transactions or to do these type of things. And given that a lot of it is already written in Go, that may be easy to port over. Now, where it's more difficult is that for this type of early stage testing, I would recommend like testing approaches that are less containerized. You want things that are like easily connected to a debugger or something like that. Whereas Hive is not really built around that. So it still recommends like polishing like a simple minimal repository where you can run something, just a few clients locally to test the changes. And then around the interop, I hope you have like a live testnet to test against instead.
Got it. Okay, so let's chat offline with Mofi once he's back around and see what he thinks about that as well. But I think it makes sense to try and maintain the interop repo perhaps a bit longer. Yeah, and maybe figure out how we bring it into a good spot for interop, so that we have that and then the DevNet that people can then join. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And so I guess, yeah, and you sort of started covering Hive. I know we discussed this last time as well, but beyond what you just said, anything else you wanted to share in terms of updates there?
There's that one PR about metrics, which needs review. It's more of a nice to have and not really blocking 4.4 work. The main blocker for 4.4 are like the changes to bootstrap into like a 4.4 testnet. Now, technically, if we change the configuration, we could just start at a previous fork and then have a longer running test that transitions into the 4.4 mode. I'm not sure if others tried starting testnets starting with a 4.4 beacon state, or have they done something like this where you skip through the transition?
We have not tried that, but I think my recommendation is whatever withdraw Capella is doing, we should follow suit because that's working already. And I do think they have tried from Terry, they have tried bootstrapping Genesis from Bellatrix. So I think we can at least do that. Or we can also try bootstrapping from 4844. I don't think that's that big of a difference, but it would be nice to test the upgrade path, and that is Capella to 4844.
Agreed. I'm mostly thinking about the beacon state part with 4.4 to have like a faster feedback cycle. Sometimes you just want to restart testnets really, really frequently, and then doing the transition all over again might take some time. But otherwise, yes, we should cover the transition foremost.
Yeah, we can definitely support bootstrapping from 4844. I'm speaking for Prism, and I do think that's nice for like end-to-end or high test. We can reduce the test cycles.
Okay. And I saw, yeah, so Mario has some open PR also against Hive. I don't think he's on the call. Anything else people want to bring up with regards to testing? Okay. And then I know we discussed the precompile benchmarking last time. It seemed like we were sort of converging on 55 or 60K gas price for that. Does anyone have any updates from that end? Okay, so and I guess we can keep things as is. I would not change the gas price for DevNet 4, but what we can do is like once we do have DevNet 4, we'll like it will have implementations across all the clients, we can do kind of one more round of benchmarking and make sure we're still like in roughly the right spot, and potentially change the gas price there. So I don't think we should block anything for DevNet 4 on that. And then with regards to the big block testing, Giorgio said in the chat this morning that he'll get back on it this week. I don't know that there's anyone else on the call who'd want to give a quick update on that. Okay. Okay, and then I guess maybe a last thing before we wrap up. Carl, I know the KZG ceremony is supposed to go live Friday. Any updates you want to share here about that?
Yeah, sure. KZG ceremony should be going live on Friday. That's all very exciting. I encourage everyone here to please participate. It's also very easy to write your own implementation. So if you'd like to do that, you also please go ahead. And if you feel like testing it out, you can have a look at ceremony.ethereum.org. It's a test version that's good. That's there now.
Awesome. Yeah. Anything else anybody want to chat about before we wrap up?
One other thing I should add to that is we also have grants open for people who'd like to write their own implementation or do fun, crazy entropy generation things. There haven't been enough. I want to throw things in a volcano, or I want to use some crazy source of entropy applications yet. So I'll drop a link in the chat if anyone's got any fun ideas.
Sounds good. Okay. Anything else before we? Oh, please, yeah.
One other totally unrelated thing is, well, I mean, I guess related somewhat to KZG stuff. Do we need to be doing anything on the KZG implementation in terms of kicking off audits or further hardening those libraries? I feel like that's something that could be a long pull. And so just curious how we're thinking about that.
So we do have an audit scheduled for CKGZ and Go KZG with the Sigma Prime team, who reviewed some of the ceremony stuff and has some BLS expertise. And that is scheduled for March, I believe. So people are working on kind of doing a lot of cleanups on those repos, additional testing, and some internal auditing. So some of the security folks at the EIP are spending some time looking at those. So that's the path for those libraries, at least.
Awesome. Exactly what I wanted to hear. You guys are already on it. Love to hear it. Thank you.
There was some concern around Go KZG performance and sort of like the allocations. Is that something someone is going to work on? Or are we good with the way it is?
I'm not caught up on that.
So I think my understanding is that it's just switching the backend. Like if we use the GNAC backend instead of whatever it's using now, then it's going to be quite competitive or even slightly better than BLST on performance. So I think that was the right thing.
All right, thanks.
Solius, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so for our Rust KZG project, we are proceeding with parallelizations, and we have a way to export the C API in exactly the same way as CKZG. So it's possible to compile a standalone binary that has all the parallelization, all the things that needs to parallelize like array and other libraries together. So essentially, it's possible to just replace the CKZG binary with this Rust KZG binary, and have a parallelized version that also uses BLST ECC backend. So I was wondering, would it be suitable for benchmarks? Because I see that there are people that benchmarking pre-compiles to determine gas prices and so on. And this and the parallelized version works, at least in some places, works much faster. So would it be usable? Because I mean, the good thing, as I said, it's very easy to replace this binary with exactly implementation if you are already using the bindings that are in CKZG repo.
So for gas pricing, only one thing, only the proof verification is relevant. And so I don't think parallelization helps much there. The parallelization is...
For proof verification,
it's just
actually, yeah, I was...
It's just a pairing. It's just a pairing.
Yeah, but I checked a bit the algorithm. I was a bit surprised that that based on the number of blobs, I expected that.
No. This is not what I'm. No. It's not the blob verification. It's the point verification.
I see. So for blob verification, there is no. This is not involved in any way. Okay.
Not in the gas, because that's that's not an opcode. No.
Oh, okay, then it's clear. So at least for this precompile benchmarking, I think it will not help in any way, because most of the speed actually happens by parallelizing this multiple blob related thing.
Right. So which client is planning to use Rust KZG?
So for Granina, we are planning to use it. But otherwise, I don't know. I mean, we are, as I said,
sorry,
the
for
good
what?
thing
Which client?
For Grandina client. This is a less known one.
I see.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, but just keep in mind that there is an easy way to have a replacement for if you're already using CKZG via bindings.
Right. So I mean, just like one thing, we don't have an audit scheduled for Rust KZG, right? So if it's for like used for a client that's supposed to be ready for production and doesn't have an alternative, like can't easily also just compile with CKZG, then we need to think what we are going to do there.
Yeah, I think this is a bit tricky question because of a different status of Grandina. But yeah, I mean, my message was more for people that that may be interested in parallelized version.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. CKZG has some primitive parallelization as well for some things. Yeah. Yeah. Is any other clients planning to use Rust KZG?
I know Ethereum JS certainly is. We're looking at well, and I'm assuming the Rust KZG. I'm not sure if that's the same one that Kev's working on or not, because we're going to compile it to WASM, so that since we want to be able to run in browser, just because of our implementation. And so here again, we're not a production grade client. Our code is, but I mean, I think our code, but at the same time, our transaction library, which is used in a lot of places, and if people want to use that in browser, you know, we want that to be considered production grade maybe. So we may want to consider trying to get the Rust version implemented, unless someone is better than me at compiling CKZG to WASM, because I don't know anything about that.
Right. So you can't compile C into WASM?
You can. I just don't know how to do it.
I see.
Someone
For Lighthouse,
here is good at that.
we are currently using the So for Lighthouse, we are currently using the Rust bindings for CKZG. We haven't yet tried Rust KZG, but like in Lighthouse, we have like the KZG code in Lighthouse is like sort of not very implementation dependent, so we can replace like the Rust bindings for CKCG with Rust KCG and try it out. But like I think we'll get a little more confidence if the library itself is audited, because CKCG is going to be audited and might be a little more. We might be a little more confident in using Rust KCG if it's audited as well, I guess.
Okay, so is it worth having a conversation about auditing Rust KCG?
Yeah, so I mean, me and Juan don't have any insight into the auditing portion of SIGP, so we'd have to like ask around about that. But
yeah, okay, so let's discuss this offline. But yeah, we can definitely look into it and come back with an update next week. Any final things people want to discuss before we wrap this up? Okay, well, thanks everyone. Talk to you all next week, and we'll see most of you at Interop 2 weeks from there.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.